Alright troops, my name is Gary Blackwood, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am coming at you from the Wynn in Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. After a fantastic few days at EDC, I am back to work. Results for the trip are on your screen right now. Having a great trip so far, and I'm going to be staying at the Wynn for the next few days, and I'm going to bombard you guys with hand histories for the next 30 minutes or so from my stay at the Wynn. So let's not mess around, let's go ahead, jump into the poker room, and crush some souls for the next few days. Alright guys, in we go. This is the first time I've ever recorded at the Wynn Casino in Las Vegas, and I am super excited to do so. I'm being called for a 1-3 table, and as I get to my table, the dealer asks me, do I want to be dealt in? At which point I say yes before I'm fully in my seat. 30. It is a complete scramble to get the camera on. I somehow turn it on, look down at my aces, and then end the recording after 8 seconds. Raising pre-flop with the aces, going 4-way to king, queen, 7, c-betting and just taking it down. Very good start before I get called to play the 2-5. It is a $1,500 cap, but I am buying in for $1,000. I'll talk about why that is in just a second. Our first hand of note at 2-5 comes 18 minutes into the session. I've got queen 9 of hearts on the button, and the low jack has raised to $25. He's a new subscriber to the vlog. I'm going to make the call here on the button. A little loose versus a 5x raise, but sue me. We go heads up to the flop. It comes down 10-9-4 with 1 heart. Decent start. I've got second pair, backdoor draws. And then the c-bet comes in for $60. Alarm bells are kind of ringing here. The big raise pre-flop, the big c-bet size, but obviously not folding here with queen 9. I make the call and we see a 7 roll off on the turn. My opponent bets out for $125, and I think about it for a few seconds, but I think we can definitely get out of the way here. I fold my hand and my opponent is kind enough to show me pocket kings. I give myself a pat on the back. This is a good fold by me before once again picking up the one and only pocket aces. Under the gun is raised to $15 because there's no straddle this hand, and I put in the re-raise. I make it $55 to go. Action is on the small blind, and he is going to put in the cold 4-bet. He makes it $205 to go. Under the gun is going to get out of the way. Action is back on me, and in theory, we've got basically a pure call here in position. We don't do much shoving with our pocket aces, but when older fellas cold 4-bet, they don't really have much of a folding range, so I stick it all in. My opponent does not snap call, but does not snap fold, and eventually is gonna make the call here. I immediately roll over my aces. He does not ask once or twice, so I don't say anything. We're running it once. Let's see if we can hold. After the run out, my opponent told me I was good, showed me his pocket queens, and then mucked. My opponent says that I was a nit, and he said he knew I had aces or kings, and I'm not standing for that. I just needle him a little bit. I say, well, if I had aces or kings, why didn't you fold your queens? Yeah, really nice pot coming my way here, and what's more, I am going to get called for a table change immediately after this hand. I don't feel bad at all. This old fella's been calling me a nit for some reason after 30 minutes of play. And yeah, I'm moving across to the new table, playing with a couple of guys that I know. Really, really fun table with some really fun hands coming up. First hand of note, my buddy is going to raise under the gun to $20. I am next to act with ace-jack offsuit, and I put in a very light 3-bet. I make it $65 to go. I think under the gun versus under the gun +1, this is just a fold, but I want to play with my buddy. I put in the 3-bet. We go heads up to the flop here after he calls my 3-bet, and it comes down queen 7-4 with 2 spades. I've got that ace of spades backdoor working for me, so when he checks to me, I bet out for $65, around half the size of the pot, and after a couple of seconds, he is gonna make the call here. A very bluffable king rolls off. What's more, I've got that gut shot working for me, and I can bluff spade rivers if my opponent calls again here. So I bet on the turn for $210, going off on a bit of an adventure here with my ace-jack offsuit, but no harm done. My opponent does just let it go. I windmill the ace-jack, and he tries to tell me I had the best hand, but I don't believe him. I think he's just lying to save face here. But yeah, taking down another pot, running pretty smoothly so far, and picking up pocket queens not long later. I'm going to raise it on up to $15 in the cutoff. Small blind is going to make the call, and the big blind calls as well. Small blind is a non-pro, big blind is a regular looking fella. And we go 3 ways to the flop. It comes down queen 3-3 with 2 diamonds. What a flop here, flopping a full house. Both players check it on over to me, and if this was rainbow, I would consider checking back, but given there's a flush draw out there, there's some value to be had. I bet out for $15, and I guess the big blind can have some 3x as well. He obviously doesn't because the small blind folds, and then the big blind just lays it down as well. Really anticlimactic to flop a boat. And how cool would it have been if the big blind just had like 4-3 suited or something like that? But no matter, moving on to the next hand. Next up, I've got King Queen offsuit in the straddle. The cutoff is raised it on up to $30. No reads on him, he's not been playing too many hands. Small blind is going to make the call. And I could squeeze here, but like I say, the cutoff has been pretty ABC so far, so I just make the call here out of the straddle. Three ways we go to the flop, pretty decent flop at that. It is King 8-7 with 2 hearts. The cutoff is going to see bet for $60. The other player is going to get out the way, and I don't want to raise here with King Queen on this flop. Maybe something like King 7 deuce we could, but King 8-7 2 hearts a little too connected, so I just call. Turn is an offsuit 5, and I check it on over to my opponent. He is not going to slow down on this turn. He bets again, this time for $135. I know I'm not folding, I know I'm not raising, I know I'm calling, but can't snap call. Obviously, I tank for a little while before eventually flicking in the call. River is the deuce of hearts, flush draw is just completed. I check it on over to my opponent, and he fairly quickly bets out. I'm talking like 10 seconds or so. He bets out for $400 here on the river. I'm really thinking over my options here, thinking about the types of hands that my opponent could be bluffing with, and a lot of those hands like, you know, ace queen, ace jack with a heart. One, I block one of those combos, and two, is this specific player going to c-bet those combos on the flop and then continue to barrel them on the turn? I don't think so. So after a bit of a tank, yes, I've got that queen of hearts. I don't think my opponent is bluffing here. I just lay it down. I really want my opponent to show, but he silently mucks. And this is a rare pot going against me. I've run and played really quite well so far tonight, but this is putting me into only $744 profit. No matter though, because I have ordered some Allegro. It is one of the best restaurants in the Wynn, and I've got some lasagna with a side of potatoes. My extended family is Italian. Italians are very proud of their food, so if any of my Italian family are watching this right now, please accept my apologies. But yeah, really delicious lasagna. Coming back to the game now, a couple of nice pots going my way, and me and the player to my right have agreed if it folds around to us in the blinds, we're going to flip for $150 each. The first time this happens, he actually looks down at his cards and then is like, oh, we're supposed to be flipping. And I'm like, okay, let's flip. And he's like, oh, I've got an ace in my hand. So I think it's fair game to do this to him.
Ace is good. Just kidding.
To be clear, there's no malice intended from my opponent, just a little bit of fun. Flipping and slow rolling, it's all part of the fun here, but dragging in the first flip. And next up, I've got pocket nines in middle position. I raise it on up to $30. The small blind is going to make the call, and the big blind, who is an aspiring vlogger who hasn't even made his channel yet, is going to make it $130 to go. He told me he's thinking about making all in with Eli. If you guys could, go see if he's made the channel, and if he has, give him a follow. Really nice guy, and he's got some really great ideas. But anyway, he squeezes it here to $130. Pocket nines in position. I'm not going anywhere. I make the call. Other player's going to get out the way here, and we go heads up to the flop. It is 8 high, but it is all diamonds. I really don't want to continue here with my opponent c-bets, but he only bets out for $65. I think we've got a mandatory continue here. I reluctantly make the call, and we see an ace of clubs roll off on the turn. He bets again for $130, and I'm clearly done with the hand now. I just let it go. He's actually going to show pocket jacks with no diamonds. Really hope he gets his vlog set up, because lots of hands like this are going to make for a really fun viewing. But yeah, nice hand to my opponent, and once again, we're flipping here with my jack 6 versus the player to my right 6-3.
No three, no three, no three. Oh, you're dead.
Oh, oh three.
Offsuit 3? Is that 2 out? Oh my God.
Yeah. He has 2 outered me on the river. So painful. Maybe it's karma for my slow roll earlier. But yeah, 1 flip for, 1 flip against. On to our final hand of what's been a very, very fun session. I've got ace jack of clubs in early position. I raise it on up to $30. The older fella in the cutoff, he's been very ABC so far. He's going to make the call. We go heads up to the flop, and it comes down 8-6-3 with 2 clubs. In theory, I'm probably supposed to range check here, but I decide against that. I decide to just c-bet here for $35. And after a few seconds, my opponent makes the call. Turn is an offsuit 8, pairing the top card. And I decide to just check it on over to my opponent here, see what he does. He's actually going to bet out here for $80. I don't see the point in doing anything other than just calling here. I don't think raising is the play, so I just make the call, and we see a very interesting river. It's the 6 of clubs. The board is double paired, but I do make the nut flush. I check it on over to my opponent, and he bets again, this time for $150. Do we call here versus this player type? He's an older fella, he's been kind of nitty, very ABC so far. I really don't love it, but then I tell myself that he could have a worse flush. So I flick in the call, and my opponent turns over, red, queen 10 offsuit. I love it when stuff like this happens. You think you've got a read on a player, and it turns out to be completely wrong. I'm dragging in the last hand of the session here, and I am completely beat. It's been a long weekend at EDC. I'm a little tired, so I rack up my chips. Gotta tell you guys, I really love these Ray-Ban Meta glasses for these candid shots like this. Gonna get straight into the next session here, but first, let's check out my all-new hourly graph for the session we've just seen. Really nice start, winning that pot with pocket aces to send me up $830 after the first hour, losing a couple of small pots back in hour 2, before chipping up nicely again at the end of hour 3. I'm up $833, doing the same thing in hour 4, $975 profit, before winning that last hand at the very end of the session to send me up $1,195 after 5 hours of grinding. Very next day, I am back in the mixer, buying in for $2,000 at a 5-10 game with a $10 big blind ante. I'm excited to play the big blind ante formats. Let's not mess around, let's get straight into the action. First hand of note comes 25 minutes into the session. I pick up ace-king in the cutoff. I raise it on up to $30. Button is a regular looking fella. He is going to make it $100 to go. And then the big blind cold calls. This is really exciting here as I reach for chips and make it $300 to go. Button takes an age and then just lets it go. Big blind is going to quickly get out the way. That was a little anticlimactic. But no time to waste, because in the very next hand, I pick up ace-3 of hearts in the hijack and I raise it on up to $30. The button is going to put in the re-raise. They're going to make it $100 to go. And again, the big blind is going to cold call. Now, I've played a little bit with the button, and they're a little bit of a tighter player, shall we say. And they're both non-pros, so I think we can call here. There's an ante, there's no rake. We do have to play a little bit wider. I decide to make the call here. I'm not 100% sure if that's correct or not, but I think it's fine. And we go 3 ways to 8-5-4 rainbow, picking up that gut shot backdoor flush draw. The button is going to bet out for a small size of $100. Big blind is fairly quickly going to make the call, and if I had ace-6 or ace-7 or 6-5, I would consider raising here, but with just ace-3, I decide to just smooth call. Turn is the queen of clubs. That is the opposite of what I was looking for, but it is just going to check all the way around on the turn. To the river we go. It is a board pairing 5. I was hoping for a deuce, maybe even an ace, but the board pairing 5 is not what I was looking for. Still though, I do block ace-5 suited, and I don't really have much else to bluff with here, so I decide to try and rep the 5. I bet out for $500. Like I said, I block ace-5. I don't have much else to bluff with. I think this is a good spot to bluff on the river. The button is tanking for ages. I am praying that the button folds, because I think the big blind is going to fairly quickly fold. After a while, the button sticks in the call. Big blind quickly gets out the way. I table my hand, and the button has got pocket 9s. Very nice call by the button there. I really did think that this was getting through, but alas, it is not to be. Now, unfortunately, because of some technical issues, my vlogging camera wasn't working. My main phone, however, I managed to catch this next hand. I've squeezed pre with ace-king of hearts. There's been a 4-bet, and I have gone all in with ace-king for $2,000. I've been called. We're running it twice here against pocket kings. Let's see if we can find a way to suck out. Not even a sweat, not even close. And after this hand, I am stuck 2.1k. I've got one last non-vlogged hand, and naturally, I have flopped a royal flush. What the F? This is insane. I've made several royals in my life, but never have I ever flopped a royal flush. I've check raised the flop, I've bombed the turn in a 3-bet pot, and the river is a 4th diamond. I mean, I can't complain. I've flopped the royal flush. It's absolutely insane. Back to work, 15 minutes into the main game. I've got ace-jack offsuit in the big blind. As I look down at my cards for this next hand, something happens in the basketball game. Oh! Absolute scenes in the entire room. It was the New York Knicks versus the whoever. If it's not soccer, I don't want to know. But anyway, the button is raised to $30. And I've decided to call out the big blind with ace-jack offsuit. We go heads up to the flop. It is 8-3-3 rainbow, and this is just going to check through. Turn is the king of diamonds, and my opponent decides to delay c-bet here for $30. I've got the best hand really often. I've got the ace of diamonds working for me, all that great stuff. I decide to check call with my ace high. River is the six of diamonds, which is a very fun one. I check it on over to my opponent. He's going to bet out for $100. And as Uncle Doug would say, I think all three options are on the table here. Actually, no, I don't think folding is an option. I think we can either call this or raise it. And I decide to raise it. I make it $500 to go. And my opponent is going to snap call. Nicely maneuvered by me, calling with the ace high and then turning it into a bluff on the river. Next up, I've got king queen offsuit. The low jack has raised it on up to $30. And like I say, this is an ante-table with no rake. I'm never folding here in the hijack. I spin for 50-50 between 3-bet and call, and it lands on call, so I make the call. Cutoff is going to call as well, and we go three ways to the flop here. It comes down queen jack 6 with 2 spades. Decent start with top pair, good kicker. Low jack is going to check, and I decide to take a stab here. I bet out for $60. Cutoff is going to get out the way, and then the low jack check raises me. He makes it $300 to go. This actually feels really close on the flop, but I decide to stick around, make the call with my backdoor draws. Turn is a really interesting one. It is the king of spades to give me top 2 pair. Low jack is going to check it on over to me, and I think we want to bet here. I'm really not sure. I decide to block bet here for $240. Really not sure about this. I think it is okay. My opponent is going to check call, and we see a board pairing 6 roll off. I am snap checking this one back because now I can't get value from aces. My opponent is not going to allow me to do so though. He is going to lead out, and he's going to lead out huge. He bombs it for $1,500. Very interesting spot. I'm immediately telling myself I'm not going to call, but as always, I think the spot through. I try and think about my opponent's range and what it looks like. After about 2 minutes, someone is actually going to call the clock here. A little surprised. It was only a couple of minutes, but hey ho. I decide that my opponent is bluffing here with queen jack of hearts, queen jack of clubs, and nothing else. And I just let my hand go. He does not show. I would have loved to have seen it, but yeah, my opponent does not show. Next up, I've got ace 7 of diamonds in the cutoff. I raise it on up to $30. The button is going to put in the re-raise to $100. Button is a bit of a sticky non-pro, shall we say. Action is going to fall back around to me. And like I say, there's no rake, plus the ante, plus we're not 100 big blinds effective. Cutoff versus button, this is right on the line, and if it is a bad call, it's a tiny bit of a losing bad call, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, we go heads up to the flop. King 5-4 with 2 diamonds. Decent start here with my nut flush draw. My opponent's going to bet out for $80, and how good is it if we can just make a hand like ace-jack offsuit fold right now? I put in the check raise. I make it $270 to go. I think this is pretty standard. We can make better ace highs fold. We got the flush draw, the backdoor straight draw, all that great stuff. My opponent is not going anywhere. She is going to make the call here, and we see a terrible turn card. It is a board pairing 5. No help to me, and I think I want to check really often with my range here. So I check it on over to my opponent, and she is just going to check it on back. River is a queen, and I could bluff this, but like I said, I think my opponent is really quite sticky overall. They're just going to be like, well, the flush draw missed, and then make the call with a lot of their range, so I just wave the white flag. I give up. She is going to check back, and she has got pocket 10s. Can't beat pocket 10s with ace high. And I am now stuck 2.7k. Can't seem to get much going here. But next up, I've got pocket 7s. I'm going to raise it under the gun to $30. The small blind is a very tight pro. He is going to make it $150 to go. Action is back on me, and this is a bit of a big 3-bet, but like I said, I think my opponent's going to be very overpair heavy here, and if we can flop a 7, we could win a very big pot. So I make the call, and we do flop a 7. Jack 7-4 with a flush draw. That is exactly what I was looking for. My opponent is going to bet out for $110, and I think you can definitely raise here exploitatively versus this player type, but maybe they've got ace king or ace queen suited or something. I decide to just flat call. We see the queen of hearts roll off on the turn. 2 flush draws on board now, and my opponent bombs it for $400. I think we've got a pretty clear shove on this turn. If my opponent bet folds a hand like ace 10 or ace king suited with the flush draw, then that is a pretty big win in my opinion. As well as that, there are kings and aces to get value from, and maybe ace queen as well. So I move all in with 2 flush draws out there. I think this is a pretty mandatory shove. If it's not, let me know in the comments. I fade the pocket queen, snap call, which is pretty good. I also fade the snap fold, which is pretty good. I am pretty sure my opponent is going to call. He gets a count. It's $1,850 total, so $1,450 more for him to call. Sure enough, after a little while, he sticks in the call. Let's go. The dealer kind of pauses. I don't say anything. My opponent raises one finger, so I guess we're going once. River is an ace. That might be problematic. I turn over my pocket sevens, and my opponent has got aces. No! This is a $4,500 ace on the river for my opponent. This is so painful. As I slither off to bed here, let's check the hourly graph for this episode. I came into the day plus 1195. But after 1 hour today, I was down $275 total for the episode. The next hour wasn't so great either, and I lost a little more before after the end of hour 8, finding myself stuck minus 115 total for the entire episode. Another pretty rubbish hour, losing a little more, and then that last hand at the end of the night sending us down $3,405 after 10 hours of grinding over 2 days. It's really, really unfortunate. It's just a bad session. It is what it is, and we move on to the next one. The hand history bombardment continues as the next day I am back in the poker room nice and early. We're starting this 5-10 game four-handed, buying in for $1,500, less than yesterday because it's a tougher, reggier, short-handed game, so I think buying in for a little less makes more sense. Our first hand of note comes 12 minutes into the session. I pick up pocket queens on the button. The cutoff is raised it on up to $30. Easy re-raise, I of course make it $100 to go. Action is back on the cutoff and he makes the call. What a first flop of the day. It comes down ace, ace, queen with 2 diamonds. I'm going to c-bet here for a small size. I bet out for $60 and my opponent makes the call. Turn is an offsuit 4. And my opponent checks again, obviously betting again here. I bet out for $270. And once again, my opponent is going to make the call here. I think it's going to have an ace really, really often. Maybe a hand like King Jack or King 10 of diamonds. River is the 9 of diamonds. Absolutely love that. If he's got King Jack or King 10, then he's just improved. So, of course, I bet again. I bet out for $620. Honestly, I thought I'd bought in for 2K. Bit of a brain fart. I should have just gone all in. My opponent actually moves all in for less than a min raise on me.
Are you fucking serious?
Raise all in on a call.
That's good. Nice hand. Nice hand. I'll give him 600 in black.
Okay.
There is one person in the world who is going to understand what I'm about to say. Being fucked over by the 9 of diamonds. Someone get me a Reuben and a Gruber right now. In all seriousness, this is a really, really nasty beat. I should have shoved the river myself, but no harm done because my opponent makes a better full house. And he is going to drag in this pot. All I can do is tap the table, rebuy, and just keep on going. There's a new player to the game. We're now 5-handed. And that new player is going to raise in this next hand to $30 in the cutoff. I look down at King 7 of diamonds on the button. And this new player is giving off non-pro vibes, shall we say. So I'm going to put in the re-raise here. I make it $100 to go. Cutoff is going to make the call here. And we go heads up to the flop. It comes down Queen 10, 5 rainbow. Got backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. Good board for my range. I bet out for $80. My opponent thinks for a few seconds and he is going to make the call here. Turn is the ace. It's a very bluffable turn and I block King Jack, so I continue to barrel here. I bet out for $290. My opponent fairly quickly puts in the raise. He makes it $700 to go. A little tiny bit tilted as I just have to sigh and fold, and then my opponent rips over the 8 of clubs. Absolutely fantastic. I love this. I love when people bluff me and show bluffs and stuff like that. It never annoys me. I think it's absolutely class and it's really good for the game. Again, I'm tapping the table and saying nice hand, sir. Moving on, I've got pocket 8s in middle position. Under the gun is raised to $30. Game is filling up a little bit now. The player next act is going to make the call and I call with my pocket 8. So we go 3 ways to 10-8 deuce with 2 clubs. Finally making a good hand 1 hour into the session today. It is going to check on over to me. I bet out for $50. Let's build this pot here, but both players are gonna fold. This is so frustrating. I had topped up a little bit before this hand because a couple of non-pros are in the game and stuff like that, hence the increase in my stack size. But yeah, flopping a set, getting no action. Next up, I've got pocket jacks. Just a few minutes later, middle position is raised to $30, and I put in the re-raise. I make it $100 to go in the hijack. Middle position is going to make the call. This is the guy that showed me the 8 of clubs earlier. And we go heads up to 10-5 deuce with 2 hearts. Good start here with all undercards to my pocket jacks. Easy c-bet, I bet out for $120, and after a couple of seconds, my opponent makes the call. Turn is a 5, it pairs the board, has like ace 5, 6, 5, 5, 4, etc. I've just improved, but still my pocket jacks are the best hand really often, so I bet again, this time for $320, setting up for the river jam if my opponent calls. And sure enough, he does make the call, looking for a clean river, and an offsuit 9 is about as clean as can be. Interestingly enough, my opponent is going to reach for chips and lead out for $220 on the river. Now, I put a poll up on Instagram. If you guys aren't following me there yet, GazzyB123 on Instagram. I'm posting lots of spots like this all summer. Go ahead and give me a follow. Really surprised at the number of people that don't want to shove here. I just think we've got the best hand really often. So after about 20 seconds or so, I move all in. I think this is not too thin. I think this is pretty mandatory. I move all in. After about 6 seconds, my opponent is going to make the call. I show my jacks, and my jacks are good. Let's go. If my opponent showed like 6-5 or something like that, I was going to flip the goddamn table. But it is a very nice pot coming my way after I drag it in and stack it up. I am only stuck $540 for the day. Not been running the best so far, but finally dragging in a nice one. Absolutely delighted with that. What's more, they're going to start the 10-20 at 2 p.m. and my name is on the list. So I'm going to make my way across to the new table, starting the bigger game. Really excited to play 10-20. I've played 1 session so far this trip, and it went kind of well. And next up, I've got pocket jacks in the low jack. Middle position is raised it on up to $50. I am going to just flat call here. You can definitely re-raise this hand, of course, but flatting it is completely fine, especially with a couple of non-pros behind. So I make the call. Button is going to make the call. Small blind is going to make the call. I've never met either of these guys before, and they both tell me they're going to call because they want to make the vlog. What a pair of legends they are, as we're about to see the flop here.
JJ, what's your age, JJ?
After I heard that, I knew I was going to flop a set. Just one of those beautiful moments where everything just works out perfectly. Top set here on wet board. And middle position is going to bet out for $110. If we were heads up, I'd consider raising, but with lots of players behind, I decide to just flat call. Unfortunately, the other 2 players are going to get out of the way, and we see the 9 of clubs roll off on the turn, straight completing, flush completing, but when middle position checks it on over to me, that makes me a little more confident I've got the best hand here. Of course, value betting my top set, I bet out for $320. And after a few seconds, my opponent check calls. I don't think he's going to check call with better here, so I'm very confident I've got the best hand. And an offsuit ace rolls off on the river. Now, my opponent checks it on over to me. We're like 2.5k effective here. What's our size? What do we think? Do we want to just go all in for that 2.5k? It's obviously a very big overbet, but we're very polar here. It's not like we're betting many one-pair hands. But we also block some hero calls like Queen Jack and Jack 10 and things like that. So I decide with this set to bet out for $880. A very quick fold from my opponent, but really interesting spot on the river. I'd be really curious to hear what you guys think we should do on the river. Should we bet out for like 75% pot, or should we be moving all in and repping as polar as our range suggests? No matter, I am able to drag in this pot. And next up, we've got a no-limit double board bomb pot. I've got 10-9 offsuit, and these are the 2 flops. Really good start. I've got 2 pair and an open-ended straight draw. The player to my right is going to bet out for $150. Now, I am somewhat unstudied in these no-limit double board bomb pots. Maybe we can raise here, but with so many players behind, I decided to just play it safe and just call. Button is going to call as well. And we see the 10 of clubs roll off on the turn. That is a lovely first turn card. No help on the second board just yet. And on the turn, it is going to check on over to me. Easy bet, of course. I bet out for $540. The other player is going to get out the way, but the guy to my right is going to stick around and make the call here. 2 fairly innocuous rivers roll off, and my opponent checks it on over to me. There's about 2k in there. I've got about 3k behind. I think we just want to shove here and see if we can get our opponent off of a chop. That is exactly what happens. My opponent thinks for a little while and then just lets it go. I'm very proud of myself for making my opponent fold. And what's more, after these last 2 hands, I am now in profit for the day. After that monumental cooler with the queens, I'm now up $1,030 total. Absolutely delighted with that. Let's just keep it going. Next up, I've got ace deuce of spades in the big blind. Middle position is going to raise it on up to $60. He's a quite tilted non-pro. He's got about 8k in front of him. I am going to make the call here at the big blind. We see the flop come down ace 10-6 with 2 diamonds and 1 spade. He is going to see a bet for $100, and I am going to make the call here. Turn is a lovely offsuit deuce. Really nice turn card. I checked my opponent, and he bets out for $400. We are kind of deep, and there are a lot of really bad rivers, so I decide to just play it safe now, and maybe we can like check jam a 3 or something like that. So I just make the call, and we see a 10 roll off on the river. It's not a diamond, but it does counterfeit my 2 pair. I check it on over to my opponent, and he bets out for $260. This feels really milky from my opponent. If he wasn't really tilted, I would maybe consider just folding, but I do make the call, and this player's got 7-4 of diamonds in middle position. That is a very loose raise, really nice run out for me, and I am going to drag in another pot. Feels like I'm really gaining momentum here, dragging in a few pots in a row. I am going to lose with this 4-3 offsuit in the bomb pot. I lose about $600. I've got 2 nice draws, a pair and a straight draw and a double gutter, but couldn't get there 3 ways, unfortunately bricking out on both rivers and having to just let it go. Now, something is going to happen just a little while later that tells you you're in a very good game. This is a 10-20 with a $20 big blind ante, and the game is 8-handed, and they are adding in a 9th player. They don't do this unless it's a very fun player, and spoiler alert, this player is a very fun player. I don't get to play many hands with him, unfortunately. Lots and lots of hands go by where I don't really get to play that often with him, but he is any 2 cold calling 3 bets, raising to 400 with 7-3 offsuit. We have got a game on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. And about 40 minutes after he sits down, I finally get to play a pot with him. He's going to raise under the gun to $50. I look down at pocket 7s a few seats over, and I put in the re-raise. I make it $250 to go. As has been happening, one of the regs in the game is going to cold call. This has been really standard, and the fun player is gonna call as well. We go 3 ways to the flop, and it comes down king 7-4 rainbow. I could not have handpicked a better flop here. It's going to check on over to me, and I bet out for $400, praying that this guy doesn't fold. Cold caller gets out the way, and under the gun is going to check raise. He makes it $1,200 to go. I am dreaming of Vegas and the effing Mirage, even though it's not there anymore, as I fake tank for a few seconds and then make the call. Turn is the queen of spades. Unfortunately, my opponent is going to check it on over to me. He is very check raisey and one barrely and normally shuts down a lot, so when he checks it on over to me, I think he's probably just going to check fold, but still, he's not folding a pair, he's not folding a flush draw, straight draw, stuff like that, so I bet out for $1,600. This would have set up for the river jam if my opponent had not just snap folded. Really nice pot coming my way. So exciting to get the 7 on the flop and then be check raised. I do just take it down on the turn, but definitely can't complain. I'm having a very smooth day now, chipping up in a lot of small pots, and I am up $4,250 for the day. Unfortunately, the fun is not going to last. A very fun player, he is going to get called to the 25, 50, 100 game, and he is on his way. It will be me one day getting called for that 25, 50, 100 game, but until then, 10-20 will just have to do. A little sense of irony, as immediately after this player leaves, I finally pick up a really good hand in the form of pocket aces. Under the gun is going to raise to $60. He's the player that had 7-4 of diamonds earlier. The player next to act is going to make the call, and out the small blind, I put in the raise. I make it $320 to go. Under the gun is going to make the call, and the other player is going to call as well. Before we see the flop, let's talk about stack sizes. I start the hand with about 7.3k. Under the gun has got everyone covered, and the other player's got around 5.5, maybe 6k. We go 3 ways to the flop, and it comes down 9-6 deuce with 2 hearts. This is fairly safe, lots of draws, no flop 2 pairs. I think this is a pretty good flop for my aces. I decide to check so I can check raise, and under the gun is gonna take a stab here for $500. This is exactly what I wanted. Under the gun +1 is then gonna call. He's been fairly ABC so far, and I think he's probably gonna fast play his sets on this board with the flush draw and stuff like that. So not too worried about him calling, and I stick to my plan. I put in the check raise. I make it $2,200 $200 to go. This is very exciting. Check raised into 2.2k. If either player is going to make the call here, I've got less than a pot size bet behind. And sure enough, Under the Gun is going to make the call here. Action is on Under the Gun +1, and he starts like pulling faces and saying, and things like that. I'm watching him intently because this could be like an act, and he could be like really strong and pretending to look weak. But no matter, because after about 30 seconds or so, he does just let his hand go. We're going heads up to the turn with a lot of money in there, and we see the Jack of Clubs roll off on the turn. I just didn't want to see a heart, to be honest. I've got about $4,700 behind. This is the guy who had the 7-4 of diamonds earlier. He's quite loose, he's quite splashy. I am targeting hands like nut flush draws, pairs plus flush draws, combo draws, hands like Queen Jack of Hearts that have just turned top pair, and maybe this player will call with a hand like Pocket Queens or even Pocket Tens. He is a little bit loosey-goosey, so I stick with the plan. I move all in, and I get snap called. That's probably not good, to be honest. There's like $16,000 in the middle. I asked my opponent once or twice. He says it's up to me. This is a big pot. $16,000 when you normally play 5-10. It's a pretty big pot, so I say let's go twice. First river is the Queen of Clubs, and the second river is the 7 of Clubs. I show my aces, and he shows me pocket nines. No, he has flopped top set. I have check raised and shoved the turn, and my opponent has got top set. This is very unfortunate. Nice hand to my opponent. I tap the table. $16,000 pot going his way. Not gonna lie, guys and girls, this is a tiny bit on the painful side, so I decide to tap the table just like the night before. I have been felted. Before we wrap it up though, let's check our hourly graph for the episode. I was on minus $3,405 coming in. Not a great first hour. Remember losing with those pocket queens to be down $5,515, but then rallying a little bit and being only down $4,155 after the next hour. Relatively tame next hour after that, kind of just breaking even. Before an hour of power, I was only down $1,305 for the episode after the next hour. I'll be honest, with the excitement of the VIP, I then forgot to do it for hour number 15. Before sliding all the way down to the worst point of the episode, down $7,165 after 3 sessions. Guys and girls, I'm quite proud of myself. I did actually manage to record an outro for this episode. Let's check it out.